think we've covered a lot of ground here. Why don't we open up to the audience for questions? Sir.
It seems very obvious that getting you guys involved sooner is definitely the key to both saving costs and getting the approvals done more quickly. But in terms of that, who do you think is the best person to identify the sites that actually need you guys as opposed to the ones that don't?
The site acquisition people generally, when they're doing a proposal for the city zoning people, will want to do a photo sim. And there's a number of good companies out there that do the photo sim things. I think at that point, it may be a good idea to involve a concealment company with the photo sim guy. Give him the initial design. Photo sim guy, send it to me or to Sean or to John and say, hey, this is what we're thinking. Is this a feasible design? Is this something that am I on the right track? And at that point, we can easily guide them to make some minor changes that would make a big difference in the eventual installed cost of that system.
Have you started to notice that the zoning authorities or the permitting authorities themselves are beginning to establish concealment criteria, whether it's materials, whether it's a process, whether it's a point in time in any permitting site, particularly in residential areas, that don't even bring us the permit or don't even bring us a request for authorization unless you meet the following?
Yeah, one of the things that I've seen happening more and more is what they will allow for a concealment site. Sean has brought up the flagpoles a couple of times, and that's a real easy fix if you're in front of a library or a school or something like that. But a lot of these municipalities are saying, okay, look, a flagpole doesn't fit in this location. It's just not going to work. We have to have, you have to integrate it in this billboard in front of the building, or you have to put it on the roof or above that service station, or whatever the case is. They'll give you very strict parameters of what they'll accept and what they won't accept. I'm seeing a lot more resistance to the faux trees out there. And I think part of the reason is the tree people themselves. Some of them haven't done as good of a job on making a convincing tree as others. There are good tree companies out there, but there's a lot of people that aren't good tree companies. And I think that kind of a thing it really kind of hurts down the road. For these zoning people are saying, look, I don't want another one of those blankety-blank, palm trees in our town, that you drive by and you go, oh, look, a fake tree. That's not what people want. They want stuff that you can't see. And if we do our jobs right, you're not going to know the cell site is there. And that's the end game that we're shooting for.
The issue that we have before us is the fire resistance rating of a rooftop screen. So if any of you could talk about that, that would be interesting to me.
Well, we have a product that we use for the rooftop screening that's a Class 1 fire-rated material. It'll pass any of those requirements. It's, again, one of those things that needs to be defined up front, though. There is an added cost for that. Our standard product is Class 1 fire-rated, but there's some people will come to us and say, hey, we don't want to spend that much money on the site, so what can we do for cost savings? Again, a clear definition of what you want from the beginning is going to get you, the end result that you desire.
Well, let me ask one. Now, we haven't talked much about co-location here. Is there any trade-off between concealment and co-location and the ability to have multiple tenants on these sites?
We've seen more and more cooperation with the carriers of late with the co-location issue. We had several sites that were pending last year, and they were single carrier sites, and they changed into co-located sites. And basically, the companies just share the cost of the installation, so that's a win for everybody. So their total cost per carrier was considerably less than if they would have done it individually. So good planning like that pays off in spades.
And does it make it more difficult to have the same kind of concealment effect when you're going to have, as Sean said, a 5-carrier, 5-tenant concealment versus 1 or 2?
If you have to do it in 5 phases, it's more difficult. If you do it all at once, it's duck soup.
Maybe one last question. Are there, even with concealments, certain locations that the authorities have just said, we don't care how much you hide it, no, you're not putting a site there, like on a school roof or something like that? Have you experienced any of that?
Real quick, I think that the main thing to overcome with those communities that have the resistance is just education, you know. They have the notion that the cell site on the top of the school is going to give all the kids brain cancer and that kind of stuff. And, you know, there's ongoing testing out there that's proven that it's really not true. So I think the problem with any change for people, they're fearful of change. And because they're fearful because they don't know. So I think as an industry, it's our responsibility to educate people so they know, you know, the risks and the benefits of having good connectivity on your mobile device. You know, everybody's daughter and mother-in-law and dog nowadays have a smartphone or a tablet, and they want to be able to get on there and do their thing. Well, there's a cost associated with that, and that cost is to have an ample infrastructure so they can connect and they can get their 4G service. So, you know, educate them, allay their fears, and, you know, get them on your team.
Well, I want to thank all the members of the audience for hanging around for what I think is a particularly thorough and detailed discussion by our three panelists this afternoon. Let's give them a round of applause. You all have a great rest of the show, and thank you again.